Mark Cuban is here. He has been a capitalist his whole life, and he actually started with nothing and became a billionaire because of hard work and just smarts.
And luck.
And luck. There's always luck, of course. So tell me about that. What do you think about how 2020 is shaping up?
Look, I'm never against open discourse. That's what makes this country great, you know. People being able to convey their opinions. Now, I'm not going to agree with all of them. Medicare for all, I believe health care is a right, but you're not going to all of a sudden create an environment. Well, let's just talk about her plan, right?
Yeah. You had a Twitter battle with her.
Yeah, not even with her, right? I think she just let me go. But you know, if you look at her plan, there's just things that just have no chance of passing, you know, and things that just don't make sense. Like, so part of her plan says employers will take the money that we were paying for insurance and put that into the payment for Medicare for all for their employees. Now, she had the choice of saying, let's increase payroll taxes by a certain amount, which would have been the more viable way, but what she chose was something called a head tax, which says for my companies, any company that has more than 50 employees, rather than paying a higher payroll tax, we're going to charge you the average of the last 3 years plus an inflator each year for each one of your employees. Now, that means that in her mind that we'll be paying $7,500 to pick a number per year per employee. Now, for somebody who's making $200,000 a year, okay, that's not bad. But what's the impact on someone who's making $10 an hour or $12 an hour or $30,000 a year? Right. If you know if you have to hire somebody and the payroll cost is, instead of 6.12% or whatever it is, right, you're having to pay $7,500 per year, you're going to have second thoughts.
Slow hiring.
Right, you're going to have second thoughts about hiring that person. Even worse, as you evolve into her plan, you're going to see companies cut payroll benefits because they know if they push their costs down leading into the plan for the calculations, it's going to cost them less per employee, and that's going to create additional problems.
Right.
It's just not thought out right now.
Yes, and the biggest burden on you is healthcare. You know, it's like I've been an employer, and guess what? Like, if you put me in a position where my incentives are to make everyone a temp, and that if I hire someone full time, then it's going to take my cost of hiring that person up 20%. Then I'm going to hire fewer people. It's like you have a small team. You're like, sure, I'm going to pay for you all. And then the team grows and you're like, wait a minute, like, do these numbers work out? And the worst part is you make the decision and then your healthcare costs just keep getting dialed up and up every year at several times the cost of inflation. And what it does, it discourages hiring growth. The last thing you want to do is make it harder to hire people, harder to change jobs, harder to start businesses. And that's what our current healthcare system does.
Because their Cadillac plans go up.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, look, for the Dallas Mavericks, it cost me, for a family of four, we self-insure, and my insurance costs are $29,900 per year. But I'm okay with that because our insurance is great, and it's a great premium for our employees. Under Medicare for all, they're going to take a huge step back in what they get. And like to your point with unions, for their Cadillac plans, you're going to have a lot of people that are very upset that Medicare for all doesn't provide the quality of care that they're used to, and that's going to create huge transitional problems.
So you're for Medicare for all.
Yeah.
So first off, let's just do the 101 on that. Like, what does that actually mean in your estimation?
So that's government-provided health care. So Medicare right now kicks in at an advanced age. And so Medicare for all generally means that you lower the eligibility age and you make Medicare available to, in my case, all Americans.
Where does private insurance come in on that? Some of the Democratic nominees are literally talking about getting rid of private health care altogether. And to me, it's like, why would you obliterate the marketplace? I get it. You want to try to give something to everybody. Whether that would work or not, we can get into that. But you don't have to blow apart all of private insurance, too, which creates competition and ingenuity and all that.
Yeah, so I am with you in that I am not trying to outlaw or eliminate private insurance. I'm trying to provide blanket coverage to Americans, and we can do it. One of the reasons why I'm confident we can do it is because we're already spending 18% of GDP on a highly inefficient healthcare system that's also providing massive profits to private insurance companies and drug companies. Like the levels of expense are staggering. Like we're spending twice as much as other countries to worse results. And so we can make coverage much, much more. I'll give you one basic example. We don't even negotiate drug prices. Like, can you imagine that? Like, you know, it's like these drug companies are like, we're going to charge you this. I'm like, all right.
Right. But is the problem then if you if you expand Medicare, well, now there's less incentive for them to negotiate these prices? Or you're saying you're basically force them to do it?
You force them to do it. And so that you can get drug prices lower very, very quickly. You can like get access up and cost down very, very quickly. But I would not get rid of private insurance for some of the reasons why you think that having competitive markets and incentives to innovate. I agree with you. And this is America. You know you're going to end up with some gold-plated concierge version.
Right, and you should. I mean, if you have the money to do it, why should you not be able to buy into those things? But there are. I'm actually not totally sure. I think it was Bernie who said no more private insurance.
Yeah,
and that strikes me as just deeply dangerous. Actually,
I don't.
Well, it strikes me as anti-American actually, because you should be allowed to buy. Why could you not buy extra insurance if you want?
Yeah, this is true. Well, I agree with you that there's a place for private insurance in the private market. And to me, in America, it would just be unfathomable to me that there would not be something available for people that wanted to buy it.
Tom Steyer tweeted at you, only one person here is diverting attention from reality, at Mark Cuban.
Right.
And the reality is that we need a wealth tax, according to Tom Steyer.
Look, I'm not opposed to a wealth tax if it gets the job done. The one thing that I'm opposed to is wasting my money. Again, I'll say it again, businesses cannot survive if their communities if there's social unrest in our communities. If you can't open the store, you can't do business.
But is a wealth tax really going to pay for all of these
No,
plans?
of course
That's
not.
the problem. It's like you say it's a wealth tax, or they say it's a wealth tax just on the top 1%. It's,
right.
You're going to have to raise taxes on everybody.
Well, yeah, of course you will. But I don't look at the wealth tax in a vacuum, right? It's part of a bigger tax. And of course, you're going to try to tax everybody as much as they can. The question is, how do you spend it and what kind of results do you get?
Taxes, they have this cartoonish idea that you're sitting on billions of dollars in cash. They don't realize it's an asset.
Yeah, no,
and when you tax the asset, you're going to affect the value of that.
So I sent an email to one of the economists that were listed in her plan, and I asked that very question because I did the math for myself. Look, I'm the luckiest guy in the world, and I thank goodness every day how blessed I am. But I did the math, and her 6% wealth tax would require me to pay more after the first year and a half than I have in cash. And so I sent an email to one of the economists, and I said, "Look, did you guys take into consideration liquidity when you defined your wealth tax and modeled it out?"
That's a good question.
And they said no.
No, they
said no.
Would you oppose a wealth tax?
Senator Warren is 100% right that we're in the midst of the most extreme winner-take-all economy in history. And a wealth tax makes a lot of sense in principle. The problem is that it's been tried in Germany, France, Denmark, Sweden, and all those countries ended up repealing it because it had massive implementation problems and did not generate the revenue that they'd projected. If we can't learn from the failed experiences of other countries, what can we learn from? We should not be looking to other countries' mistakes. Instead, we should look at what Germany, France, Denmark, and Sweden still have, which is a value-added tax. If we give the American people a tiny slice of every Amazon sale, every Google search, every robot truck mile, every Facebook ad, we can generate hundreds of billions of dollars and then put it into our hands because we know best how to use it.
So what I think would happen is if you're forced to sell off assets and everybody in a similar situation is forced to sell off assets, then you'll see something like we saw in the 80s where the Japanese and foreign investors will come in. So you'll see Saudi Arabia and foreign entities come in and just buy up everything because there's
Elizabeth Warren is counting on China to bail out or bail her out.
or Saudi Arabia, right?
Well, you make a good point because the other day Bernie Sanders says there should be no billionaires.
Yeah.
There should be. I mean, what do we want? Do we want the billionaires to go to Europe, to go to China? I mean, already
Look,
we're
I'm
seeing
not leaving. No matter how much you tax me, I'm not leaving this country, right?
But
so I don't care.
he said it's immoral for billionaires.
Yeah, look, everybody's getting very Trumpian these days, right? Donald Trump was brilliant at looking at his base and saying, what group of people are they not going to care about that I can pick on? Now Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders have picked up that skill, right? And they said, billionaires, our base, let's throw them under the bus because no one's going to stand up and support them. So, Elizabeth Warren is becoming very Trumpian, and she's taking a big page out of the Trump playbook.
Do you think she's going to be the candidate?
No. No,
You're not?
I don't. No.
Who do you think is going to be the candidate?
I don't know. I think, I would say her and Bernie will split the same audience, and so I don't know at this point in time.